Hi, my name is Gerianne Pérez. I am an understudy at Operation Mincemeat, and I cover Monty, Jean Leslie, and Bevan. So my tips for learning your first understudy track is I always like to start with memorization. Now there are some people who have to memorize on their feet, but for me, if I don't get the words in my brain before I'm staging a scene or learning a song on its feet, I crumble. I can't have sheets in my hand. So first thing for me is memorizing. I'll do little line throughs with my voice memos, and that'll really help it get into my brain. The second thing is your script is your best friend. Write out your formations. If index cards are your way in, absolutely do that. Tracking sheet is what I do. So I have a tracking sheet that will tell me my entrances, my exits. Where do I get this prop? Where do I get this quick change? And it's all really filled out. Another thing that's really important, especially if you're covering multiple roles, is understanding your character and voice work. I cover this one role, but he can't sound or physically move the same way that this role does. So how do I differentiate those different roles? And I'll do kind of my own character workshops and experiment with that to make sure that everybody is really distinguishable from each other. So some of the skills that I think are really essential for an understudy is you have to be really grounded. A lot of times you are being called to go on for a principal last minute with not much notice, and you have to trust that you have put all of the work in to do the best job you can in front of a paying audience. So groundedness and trust in your work and your just ability to kill it on the stage is essential. The next thing I will say that you really need is you need a precise brain. You need a very precise brain to be able to hold all of the information you have to be an understudy. That means different dance formations. So if I'm one role in Operation Mincemeat, I know that this person goes to this number, but in the same song, this person goes to this number. And then the third person I cover goes to this one. You really have to have a very vast brain to hold all of the details, the lines, the lyrics, the character work. It's a very type A brain that you kind of have to have, I think. How do I deal with the pressure of going on at a moment's notice? Well, I will start off by saying that I'm quite open about having performance anxiety. So it's not really something that I'm able to squash or keep at bay. I kind of just embrace it. I make friends with it, and I figure out a way through it. And I try to reframe that the nervousness is just excitement. But the first day that I got the call that I was going on, I got maybe 3 hours notice, which in retrospect actually is a good amount of notice. Sometimes you can get called at 30 minutes to places, hey, you're on. So that day, I basically got to the theater really early. I kind of brushed my teeth really quick. I ate my breakfast, didn't drink any coffee, barely any caffeine in my system on a really high pressure day. I went to the theater and I just started prepping. I did my makeup really slowly. I started going through each of the scenes just to remind myself, hey, here's my diction, here's the dialect, here are all these lines that I know, I can trust, I know. And then once it got to half hour, I started getting the jitters. I started shaking a little bit. My heart was racing. So I did two things. I meditated and I took something called a beta blocker, which can help with your heart racing. It's quite a safe thing that's given to people who struggle with performance anxiety. Some lawyers take it for the bar exam. And those things combined really helped it so that once I stepped on stage and I was the first thing that the audience saw when the curtain came up, I was grounded and on the stage and ready to go. What is one of the last things you should do before you go on stage for a track you cover? I will say what I do, which is I get to the stage right at places, and I like to listen to the audience buzz behind the curtain. And I get obviously a little bit of the jitters, but I take a huge grounding breath, and I'll do the sun, kind of breath, like a big lion. I look crazy, I know, but I kind of just basically am I will be friends with you, audience, and you will be friends with me. And I'm going to ground myself with this deep breath and trust that we'll go on this journey together. But I would say a grounding breath and knowing that the audience is on your side. What is one of the craziest performance experiences I had at Operation Mincemeat? So I am the first to say that I'm pretty type A, perfectionist. I'm a Virgo. I strive for perfection. You can really never strive for perfection when you are an understudy, but just in general, you shouldn't in this industry because it's live theater. Things are going to go wrong. At Operation Mincemeat, though, they pretty much never want it to be perfect. They love when something goes wrong, and they always know how to improv their way out of it. They are brilliant comedians. But when I first saw them doing that and improving out of a set piece going awry or a prop going awry, I was like, how will I do that? How will I do that in the moment? Well, I had to do that in the moment. There's a moment before Making a Man where I have to toss a captain's hat up in the air, and Charlie has to run and grab it really quick. Well, I don't do sports, never have, never will, and I tossed that hat so far stage left that poor Dave, who plays Charlie, could not even think of catching it before it fell on the floor. So I looked at that hat on the floor and I said, well, that went terrible. And the whole audience laughed, and Dave kind of broke a little bit. And I said, I do sports. And he goes, clearly I don't. And then the audience completely broke, and we on stage broke fully and completely. I could not find my way out of like trying to cover that. I just laughed my way through it. I think I even tried to like run up the stairs and exit the stage at one point. But that was one of the craziest moments where I had to just be like, something went wrong and the audience saw it. And it will be far more interesting for me to make a joke about that thing and acknowledge that it went awry than to try and cover it and act like, no, it's perfect, it's fine. So yeah, that was one of my favorite ones. So what is one of the things you should not do before you enter the stage? And that is doubt yourself. At a certain point in time when you do this thing, and again, you're doing it for paying audience members, you have to just trust that you've got this, that it'll go right, that even if you drop a line, drop a lyric, go to the wrong place, most likely everything's going to be fine, everyone's going to be safe, and you're going to just plow through and it'll be great and most people won't notice. But you have to really trust that you've put the work in and that you're going to be fabulous and that they're along for the ride. They just want to see you succeed.